Hello boys and girls, Sergeant Monster here. I wanted to give you a quick technology overview of what we're doing with the Combat Camera Core and how you guys have helped me out with donations. And this is also for anybody else who wants to set up a helmet camera project so you can learn from my lessons. Like I've said before, I started with many different pieces of technology. Probably one of the first I used was your standard lipstick camera. This itself is the camera, however, it does not have any internal power nor memory. So it runs by a cord, back to this snake nest snarl, of which it runs on a bag full of AA batteries and also pushes video to an external DVR, which means you have to carry another Handycam or digital recording device, which are fairly pricey and not all that sturdy. Additionally, this does not natively record sound. To get sound, you need to run another external microphone, which as you can see are more wires. So, not ideal, useful for many things, however SCA Combat, not on the list. The next generation of helmet cameras I got my hands on were the Oregon Scientific ATK 2000, 3000, and 5000. These are fairly tough little boogers. They are self-contained, they are waterproof, they're powered by AA batteries and record to a standard SD card. The problem is that most of them record to standard definition, so the picture is not so good. And because they are waterproof, the sound is horrible and pretty much unusable. Also has a fairly narrow field of vision with only about an 85-degree lens on most of them. They are fairly tough. Like I say, one of the reasons I initially bought these cameras is a group of Georgia was using it on model rocketry, and they actually had this very model of camera fall off of a model rocket at 3,000 feet above ground level. It fell all the way, recording, hit the ground, recording, and continued to record for the next 3 days until the next day until the battery was dead. They didn't find it again for a week and changed the batteries, and everything was super cool. However, it does have a very bad form factor. As you can see, it sticks out quite a bit, so it's going to get hit, which really isn't a problem, just going to lose the camera. But not that great a picture, really horrible sound, and narrow field of vision. So, didn't really like it all that much. I also tried things such as just sticking a regular Handycam, much like the one I'm filming on now, to the side of my helmet. And while this worked, setting it up was easier actually because you have a viewfinder and can see what the camera sees. These are expensive for what they are. They're very large, they're very bulky, the battery life's not all that great, and they're pretty fragile, so not what I'd recommend. I also tried a couple of other pieces of interesting technology. Kodak makes a small Handycam flat that records in SD and HD depending on the model you buy. They're fairly tough. They're waterproof, they're shock resistant, however I have broken 2 of these. Now, the only mounting place I found that worked with my gear was either directly right on my chest or sticking out the top of my bill of my helmet, like thus, and it's a real good place to get smashed. So that didn't work so much. Most people that are doing helmet cameras nowadays are doing the GoPro. Now the GoPro is a very good camera. It records in 1080p, 720, standard def, whatever you want. It can also do high-speed video at 60 frames per second, or it can do still photography or a series of still photography. One of my problems with the GoPro is it does all these things. This thing is complicated. There are at least 2 different controls you have to push in a coded series to have it do the different things. You may think you're recording video and what you're actually doing is taking a still second every 9 seconds, every 3 seconds. You may think you're recording in HD when you're actually recording in SD. It's very difficult to operate this camera while it's mounted on the top of your head or the side of your head, and additionally in the SCA where you're usually wearing pretty heavy gloves or gauntlets, which makes it next to impossible to operate all the tiny little pressure detent buttons. The form factor is not bad as you can see, but the bulk of this actually is a case that's waterproof and soundproof. And again, with waterproofing, any camera makes crappy sound, so that's actually just the case. That's actually the camera. As you can see, it's fairly small. One of the things I don't like about it is the form factor, because the only way you can mount it is like this. If you mount it in the narrow screen, you're just recording up the side of your head. Again, camera placement and locality is a problem. The cameras we've ended up using over here are the Midland XTC 200 series. These are high definition cameras. They're shooting in 720p. As you can see, they have a fairly small form factor front to back. What I was able to do is I created a couple of armored housings. Now these mount in several ways. Way number one is the one I'm going to use for most of the people at Pennsic, is a 3M peel and stick, and this actually, get it off, and you know it, it's super duper Velcro. What I actually do on my personal helmet, because I know where the holes are, is I've drilled the holes in the housing and I've tied it through, and it's mounted on the side of my helmet. Now my helmet has the added benefit of having a bill here, which gives me a little bit of downshot protection across the camera, and it's worked out fairly well. What my plan is overall with the camera core is I'm going to outfit these cameras on different people throughout the war and try to bring back footage. Now if you have any questions specifically about any of the technologies, I'll try to answer them. The lipstick camera is fairly cheap, but that's just the camera. There's lots of ancillary equipment you have to buy, push that. The GoPro is fairly expensive. They run between $200 and $300 depending on the model that you pick up. And again, as I've said, because it is so versatile, I actually find it to be less useful for what we're doing. I need something that's fairly point and play. Of all the cameras I've looked at and all the cameras I've tried over the last 2 years, I want to say that I like the Midland. Now there is a camera called the Contour camera, which is fairly similar, very similar, and it's actually made in a good armored aluminum waterproof housing, aluminum. Price point is an issue. Because these are less popular cameras and because they're less brand recognition, they're just as good at technology. But because they have less brand hype behind them, what you find is while the GoPro is available all over retailers other than Best Buy, and you can look for them on eBay and discount websites, the price still hovers around $200 to $150 minimum. That's the best you're going to do. With judicious shopping and being really aware of the way the internet works, you are able to pick up these cameras from Midland, the XTC 200s, which retail at about $150, $200, depending on where you shop, at prices all the way down to $60 per piece. So, if you know how to work the internet, you can get a twofer. So I suggest these cameras over anything else. And again, they are very simple to operate. It is a single slide switch on the top, slide it forward to start, slide it back to stop, and it puts the camera in standby mode and stows battery. If you have any questions about any of the gear you've seen, feel free to poke me in comments. I'll have links to everything I hope below. And I want to give again a big shout out and thank you to all of our donors, without whom none of this would be possible. See you guys soon.